So I'll spend a good 5 minutes giving you a view of the broader portfolio of Commvault. But before that, first of all, thank you, AWS. Thank you for having us here. So proud to be part of this data resiliency conclave. And thank you, everyone, for taking time out to come here. I know it's not easy coming to Whitefield. It took me a couple of hours to get here, so thank you for that special effort as well. But that said, let me jump right into how to make your AWS environments resilient with Commvault. So Commvault has been investing in AWS and the AWS architecture from the resilience standpoint for the last almost 1.5 decades. We began our AWS journey way back in 2008. We support all the native services of AWS when it comes to backing up data and making it resilient. So our journey from being a backup vendor, we are a company which is almost 28 years old. So our journey from a backup vendor to a cyber resilience vendor happened over a period of time. We took a very decisive step in 2019 where we said we will build out something very unique for the cloud environments while the legacy backup software continues to grow on its own, evolve on its own to the extent it can. But we believe it's a cloud-first world, and we believe that AWS is very much leading the fray in the cloud-first world. That's when we started increasing our investments. We came out with a SaaS offering, which we wrote grounds up, we wrote the code grounds up, and which is built for the cloud environments. But at the same time, we have a lot of customers. Being a 28-year-old company, we have a lot of global customers, banks, who have entrusted their data, and many of them have the option of the cloud, but also have some on-prem assets left. So we see that we have to balance these worlds given our past, and we are doing that very well with Commvault Cloud today. Commvault Cloud is a platform where the legacy offerings and the modern day AWS offerings can be brought together and managed in a single platform. So the uniqueness of this, for example, is if you want to have a copy of data which is bulletproof in spite of the ransomware situations, in spite of your cyber situations, in spite of the threats that we see, increasing threats from the cyber actors, you can keep the data in an air-gap environment in AWS today. So we can do it two ways. We can create an air gap in a Commvault tenant in AWS in S3, or we could use a very modern day AWS offering called Clumio, which my colleague Boone would be stepping up soon and talking about. But the idea is to have a clean copy of data, a secure copy of data, in spite of the threats, in spite of the challenges, and the ability to recover the data quickly when you want it in a cyber situation. Secondly, you may get a clean copy of data, but the challenge is if you don't have your environment, if your environment is affected by ransomware or by cyber situation or some user who's been hacked and there's a threat actor in your network, how do you manage that? So this is where we came up with Clean Room on AWS. So you can use this air-gap data, and we have the necessary automation and software to restore the data into the Clean Room in AWS, so that a Clean Room is your AWS account with your privileges, which is dormant most of the time, but it gets active when you have a situation and you want to recover your business. So Clean Room is a safe place in AWS where you can recover the business, providing Commvault providing the necessary automation so that the air-gap data can be moved into the Clean Room. There is an important concept of cyber resiliency testing that's coming in globally now, and India too. I see many customers beginning to do it. While you have a disaster recovery, may not be good enough in a cyber situation. Most customers would want to take the air-gap data, recover it in the Clean Room, and see how quickly can they recover in a Clean Room in a cyber situation. So for that, you need to test. So this is a great opportunity to test that data using the Clean Room in AWS to see how quickly you can restore the data and recover the business. The more you test, the lesser time it takes to recover the data. You may want to commit to your boards, you may want to commit to your senior management saying that this is the time we will take to recover this data. This testing will help you get to that time you take to recover your data. But recovering the data may not be good enough to recover the business on a whole. So if your infrastructure is affected, what did you do? How do you bring back your infrastructure quickly? Which is where one of our recent acquisitions called Cloud Rewind comes into picture. So apart from data today, we are in a position to rebuild your AWS infrastructure in quick time, given that you want to recover from a cyber situation. So how do we do that? We take a snapshot of your entire AWS environment, which includes your network, your storage, and as I said, data is anyway available in an air gap and can be produced on the fly. So when you add infrastructure to the data, you get your whole environment back. So this is how we make you completely resilient in an AWS environment. So we continuously take snapshots of your AWS environment every 15 minutes, maintain them, and the moment you have a challenge, we spin it up in a separate account or in a clean room, as the case may be. So if you have some of these tenets, which includes having a secure copy in an air gap, the ability to recover that in a clean room, the ability to recover your infrastructure or rebuild your infrastructure within minutes, you are in a fairly good situation from a cyber resiliency standpoint. Let me add 2 more components to it. The 2 more components will make it a minimum viable company. A minimum viable company is those basic components that you require in the case of a cyber situation to bring your business back. So make sure your authentication mechanism is also protected and you have an ability to rebuild that quickly. Without that, you may have the data, you may have the applications, but then the challenge could be from an authentication standpoint. So the ability to back that up and bring that up quickly in a cyber situation is critical. Of course, the productivity softwares that you use, whichever it is also a critical component in the minimum viable company. The moment you have these 5 components together, backed up, ability to recover at pace, you should be in a very good position in a cyber situation to recover your business. So this is about minimum viable company. Now let me switch gears and talk about our new acquisition and also welcome Boone on stage. So we acquired a company called Clumio, which was a little more than a year back. Clumio lives and dies on AWS. It's built on AWS using all the traditional AWS functions. And I would put it this way that this is next generation of data resiliency, and this works only on AWS. And Boone is the founder of Clumio. He comes from the technical side, and he's flown in all the way from the US to talk about Clumio today. So with that, I will hand it over to Boone. Over to you, Boone. Thank you, everyone.